Hey, what's going on, guys? Joe McCall, Real Estate Investing Mastery Podcast. And we've got a good guest today. His name is Paul DoCampo. And we're going to be talking about follow-up because if you get the right systems in place, you can convert 30, sometimes 40% of your dead leads into deals if you learn how to do follow-up. Paul, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me on.
So, Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, everybody knows that the money's in the follow up. I mean, you hear that. I've been hearing that for years and decades. So everybody knows that, but it's how to follow up. Nobody really understands how to do it. So I'm happy to come on and share my whole system of how I did it for myself, how I create it for other investors. Everything complete. I mean, as far as the sequences we plug in, type of message and type of copy, what to look for SMS and email deliverability. And I'm not just using SMS and email. We're using a whole arsenal of different tools for following up, so that
Yeah.
your system's selling for you, rather than you constantly doing manual tasks after one another. But just a system to plug people into, because the biggest issue whenever I'm in contact with some investors, the biggest issue I find is that they come to me and they say, hey, I've got 1,000 leads in my database I haven't talked to in a year, 2 years, and they want to know what to do with it. Now, the biggest problem with that is that if it's a year or two and you haven't talked to them, that's pretty much a cold lead now. Yeah, and so I'm trying to fix that problem where all these leads are stacking up and stacking up. And there's a couple ways you can try to communicate with that pile of dead leads, via 9-word email, Dean Jackson's famous 9-word email, a couple of text messages. But the biggest opportunity for you is fixing that, so it doesn't happen to you again, where you're constantly contacting them via valuable messaging. We're going to talk about all that here. So, follow up is the whole follow up game, and what I know is what brought me here today, where I moved to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We homeschool. I don't have to report to anybody, because I learned how to create this whole follow up system that adapts to pretty much any industry and any company. So, going
Let me
on
say this
to
before you add on, go on the importance of follow up, because I one time, this was a year or 2 years ago, we looked back in the last 12 months and we did 58 deals, and we looked at, all right, how many of those 58 deals came from the first conversation? In other words, you just talked to them one time. Only four of those deals, of those 58, came from the first conversation with the seller. If we would not have done any follow-up, we would have only done 4 deals that entire year. Our average, these were our numbers. On average, it was 2 to 3 months of follow-up and about 7 or 8 touches. Now, some of the follow-up lasted for a year. Some of it was just a month. But on average, 2 to 3 months, 7 to 8 touches. And it's just crazy. When I saw those numbers, I always knew it was really good. But if we would not have done any follow-up, we would have only done 4 deals that year. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's a perfect segue into what I'm about to talk about. Is I think a lot of people, a big principle when you start building your own follow-up system is to understand most people really underestimate how many touches it takes. So, each industry is different, each market is going to be different, each business is going to be different. But you've heard maybe 7. You said on average 7 for yours. I'm going to show you a screenshot of a client of mine on how many touches it took on average, and a certain deal that he's got in his that he converted over. And I just want to say this: I have a peer that sells copywriting courses, and he's really well known in the cold copywriting world. And just so you know that in real estate, investors, we're in this kind of bubble of learning from each other, this whole real estate world. And we don't know that there's these other like multiverses of different businesses and niches. But copywriting is a whole nother like bubble where people are learning from each other, and they're selling courses, and there's coaches and gurus inside of there. So a friend of mine, he sells copywriting courses, very well known. His name's Daniel Thrussell. He's averaged out, he's a daily email person as well, and he's averaged out for a simple $200 course. it takes on average 150 emails for somebody to finally convert over and buy that $200 course. So I just want to reiterate that how a lot of people I think are underestimate how many touches it actually takes. So here's a screenshot of inside of somebody's CRM, a client of mine. On the bottom right, I'm circling. It shows 58 days on average that an opportunity that a seller or a lead responds. So 58 days that they're in your system and it takes them to respond. I've seen a little less than that. I've seen 60. I've even seen 90 days for that on average. Now, the next slide showing an actual deal, the transaction that closed that came from one of our drip sequences, and it's showing I circled right here 189 touches that it took for this deal to not to convert over, but in total. So this does include on the back end, transactional touches, right? You're trying to close, you're talking with escrow and all that, but 189. So this includes call attempts. This includes SMS attempts. And then if you consider, and I would say, Joe, maybe for your average, it's actually more than that. Because if you consider them also seeing some kind of digital ad or going to your website, that's also a touch. So that's important. I'm going to tie that into my whole follow-up system and how I create this kind of universe for people to make that creates multiple touches for people to actually see you, view you, trust you, like you, etc. So this deal particularly took 189. For some of my clients, it's less than that. It's far, it all depends on market to market, business to business. I've seen 70 touches. I've seen 40 touches on average. But again, those touches are call attempts, SMS sent, email sent, etc. So it's everything. So my little like 3 axioms or 3 secrets to creating this type of system, to creating high converting follow-up, I break it down into 3. First, you start with what I call the pipeline system. Creating your pipeline system. This is your system that removes your feelings, removes chaos, it removes disorganization from it, but you're creating a way of doing things. Seller word bank. So you're not, this is another big problem, is so you're not saying, are you still interested in selling over and over again? I think a lot of investors struggle with that. And I'm going to show you how to actually break through that and send things that are valuable, but have the subtle question, have the subtle ask there. And then and then what I call omni-channel, basically we have access to all these tools, using them for follow-up. So, okay. So developing your pipeline system, I think that's, because I worked in the pipeline, I think that's not me. That's just another article that I found. But we're going to create a pipeline system because, let me go back to that. Actually, no, that's pertinent. So because like you said, most of your deals are coming from follow-up. So this is a friend of mine, also client, Adam Whitney. He said in a webinar just recently, and I decided to put this in, but he said he used to say that drips don't work, and I'm going to explain why they don't work for a lot of people. But you heard about my system. We plugged that in. Now 40% of his deals are coming from these drips. But drips don't work because they're only using 1 or 2 buckets. And I'm going to explain that in a little bit, but we're going to break down your buckets. I have 24 different buckets for wholesalers targeting single family houses. Land is going to be a little less than that for land. For people who are just doing for land acquisition, is going to be a lot less than that. And I'll explain why. But mainly drips don't work because one, they have only 1 or 2 buckets you're using, and I'm going to explain why in a little bit. So drips do work. This is a client of mine. This is a screenshot of how he I didn't tell him to do this. He randomly sent this to make an introduction to another friend of his, and he said that his ROI is 100x the cost of what he put into it. So drips do work. You just first need to develop a way of different buckets to plug your leads into. So the old way of drips and why it doesn't work is they don't have a pipeline. All it is a lead comes in, and then when they stop making contact with the lead, or the lead stops making contact with them, they just drop them into this random bucket. And the picture, if nobody can see, this is a bucket. It says no contact sequence. And you see a picture of Mr. Victor Vacant House going in, Mr. Lewis the landlord going in, Mrs. Polly probate, all going in into this one bucket. The problem with having one sequence, one automation, is that you can't make any kind of copy that targets it. Everything has to be generic, and you can't have like a specific call to action. So meaning you've got people in here that have been given an offer, that haven't been to an appointment yet, that said no, that said your offer's too low, or hey, we're on the fence, etc. So you can't be specific on what's going on. So a picture here shows a little pipeline, or my little rendition of a pipeline here with little valves in the middle. These are gate valves. And so develop your pipeline. You have to, every time I come into a business, I charge quite a bit for a different industry to have me come in and develop their whole sales system, marketing system on the back end of things. And I'll come in. The first thing I do is I want to know what is the different stages and phases of a buyer. In this case, for a seller, it's three simple ones. We first need to push them to an appointment. Once a lead says yes to us, right? When we get in contact with somebody who is an actual seller, first we need to get them an appointment. Then we need to get them an offer. Then we need to close the deal. Really simple, really simple pipeline. But it gets a little more confusing when you start having leaks in those gates, right? So, before that appointment, before you open that gate to get them in an appointment, they're not ready yet, right? Whatever it is, whatever excuse they have, they're not ready yet. So that is one bucket to put somebody in. Right now, I have a call to action I can leverage. I know I need to get them first into an appointment. Right? They miss an appointment. That's a leak right after. At that appointment gate, they miss that appointment. Right? Now, these are just examples of my sequences, but offer made. After you made that offer, there's a bunch of little leaks that can happen, right? They tell you that your house, they're going to fix the house themselves. They tell you they're not sure yet. They're waiting on other decision makers. Your offer's too low, etc. And then finally, on every business, I add some kind of process to collect referrals and reviews, right? For sellers, I think this is really underestimated or not under tapped, is developing a way of collecting reviews. If that starts at the quote closing table, however you're doing business, collecting that video review, then collecting other reviews if you have a Google presence and all that, and then asking the question maybe 3 months down the road if they know anybody else that's selling. Right? It's a simple. Would you like fries with that question? You can ask at any point of your process, but if you get 10 deals a year, there's a good chance maybe one of them is going to have somebody else that's selling. So I add all these components to whenever I develop a system for an investor. Now, this is, I have 24. I said I have 24 sequences. I do for Joe's URL, you can get, I'll send you all the 24 that we have. Here's a look at them. So missed appointment is an obvious one. I look at that as like a cart abandonment type of flow, if anybody's like familiar with e-commerce. But we have the booked appointment. I drill this, having a booked appointment, like a pre-selling appointment, where whenever I book.
I'm sorry, Eric. I'm Paul. Sorry. Real quick, you mentioned my URL. I put it there on the screen for you guys to see if you're watching this. But it's joemccall.com/drip. joemccall.com/drip. And when somebody goes there, what will they see there, real quick?
Yeah, I'm going to send them the sequences, all 24 of the sequences that we have. I'm going to show you, there's a guide on how to build these out too, on how to build the messaging out. And there's going to be some samples on what you can say. There's like 400 plus steps we have in our sequencing, meaning like inside of them, we've got emails, we've got SMS and all that, et cetera. But I show you how to build that out if you choose to build it out yourself.
Okay. So. Yeah, cool. That's why I put the URL there, guys. joemccall.com/drip. All right. Go ahead.
So
sorry.
On this screen, I've got 5 as an example here, but we've got a booked appointment. I was talking about the booked appointment. Whenever I think, immediately you can start doing this, and it's just a good customer service type of way of doing things. Again, systems, follow-ups, it's just a way of doing things. And whenever I book an appointment with somebody, I think it's pretty cool when they are easing when you jump in an appointment, you're a little nervous subconsciously about who you're dealing with. You don't know who this company is or what they do exactly. So I want to calm those nerves. I want to it's called pre-selling. I want to pre-sell that a little bit. So we have a booked appointment. It's really simple to do. You probably plug in 4 different tasks to make sure you text the person before the appointment to make sure they show up, to cut down your no-show rate if you're doing phone call appointments, and then to build rapport before the person actually shows up, right? So offer too low, fixing themselves is another one we use, because we know that most people aren't going to fix the house themselves, even if they tell you to. So I'm leveraging value, meaning like I'm sending them actual tips. It's called a tips campaign in the marketing world, and I'm actually sending them tips like what are the top 5 rehab items. That give you most bang for your buck. I'm telling them, hey, make sure you, if there's a mechanic's lien from your contractor, remove that. Hey, make sure you tell your insurance, et cetera. Those little things. And then I'm leveraging the pain as well, subtly, right? I'm not doing it. Text messaging is kind of a funny marketing medium. You got to be pretty subtle with things. You got to brief things up. You can't have this long-tailed, winded message. You have to pick. I'm going to talk about different words you can use for SMS, but you have to pick 1 or 2 benefits and plug that in. You can't have a long-tailed SMS message. Deal closed. This is that I want to grab the testimonial and the referral, and then no appointment, no offer, landlord. So this is an example of me segmenting. I actually segment into landlord, vacant house, and owner occupant, because I can now, if I do that, I can now leverage actual pain points and direct solutions that the other people don't understand. So again, I have 24 sequences. This is how I used to say a funnel, but I call it a pipeline now. But again, I do this because I can have a clear call to action. My messages are not generic anymore. Like, are you still interested in selling? Targets pain points, objections, and all that. Okay, so Joe, do you have any questions about that? It's just really simple about developing your own pipeline.
No, that's good.
Okay, so the next part of the equation, next part of me building out a system, is then I need to start grabbing what I call like the seller word bank, which is I need to know all the value I bring to the table. I need to know all the stories, all the pain stories that are happening in the market today. So if I don't do that, if I don't know how to do that, and I'm going to show you a really quick, really great way how to do that. The problem with today's drips is I'm reiterating, all you know how to say is asking a very direct question. Are you still interested in selling? Now, those questions are important, but if you have to follow up 70 times in a drip sequence, you can only say that so many times, and then that's a self-serving marketing message. It doesn't give any value to the other person. So we want to give value, and the way to do that is this screen shows my Copywriting 101 features and benefits. A really quick way to do this, and I think this is a story that will develop your confidence and also develop this whole seller word bank for you. I remember when I was struggling, when I was first door knocking and all that, and probably 3 months in, not knowing what the heck I'm doing. I had an old school investor at the time named Jim Keller, and he put me aside because I was frustrated. I was expressing my problems, and he said, "Why don't you first do this? Sit down and write 100 different ways that you benefit a seller, because every time we go into a new investor goes into an appointment, he's thinking it's just about the price. It's just about the offer. But there are a number of ways that we directly benefit the seller. It has nothing to do with the price. So I sat down, I wrote down maybe 50. I didn't get to 100, but things like so you save them from embarrassment of selling, right? It can be really embarrassing for somebody who has a hoarder house, who is in foreclosure, whatever it is. It's an embarrassment, right? So all these situations, whether it be foreclosure, divorce, etc., they can be embarrassing situations. They don't want the public to really know about. So having this kind of backdoor way of selling is really an ease for them. Okay, they can sell all their junk left behind, right? That's a big one. I remember selling and having a bunch of stuff, and it's like, what am I going to do with all this stuff? I didn't want to do the work of actually trying to donate it and sell it, etc. but having the relief of they can just leave it behind. A professional buyer is going to take care of it. Transferring jobs without worrying if he's going to sell. No more frustrations of a failed listing. Not deal with the hassle of a 40-page contract where banks or appraisers say. So this is just 5 of them out of, but you could probably make a list of 20, 40, 50 of different ways that you benefit. And this is the start of it, because this is Copywriting 101. This is turning your free features into benefits. But this is the start of how I develop this for motivated sellers, or for investors. And so every message is you have to think it's a little mini marketing message when you send them out, whether it be email or SMS. So whenever I create, and I'm going to show you how to, a couple examples, whenever I create an SMS for an investor, I'm looking into seeing what's the strongest benefit I can use. I just take one or two. I don't flood them. I don't throw up on the page and have like all these features and benefits that are just overwhelming. I pick one or two that are the best for the situation, or the best for the sequence. So because cash doesn't really mean anything. And by the way, cash, because of the whole SMS thing, we've recently removed cash from all our follow-up messages just to get some deliverability through, and that seems to be working pretty well for people.
That's really good. And go ahead and read those 5 points.
Yeah, so save from the embarrassment of selling, can sell all their junk left behind, can transfer.
By the way,
jobs.
this is important to understand, because you're getting into, sometimes people just don't care about the cash, or that's not a good enough reason to get them to call you back. But when you can dive deeper into the feelings of what it's like when they can get their cash, which can save them from the embarrassment of selling, can sell all their junk that they left behind. They can transfer jobs without worrying if you're going to be able to sell it or not. Not having any more frustrations of another failed listing, and not having to deal with the hassle and the headaches and the pain and the emotional brain damage of 40-page contracts, dealing with the banks and the appraisers and realtors and picky buyers going through your house at all odd hours of the day, and all of that stuff, right? Like, I love how you're diving deeper into the feelings involved with this, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because I've been in this boat too. You assume that the other person knows what the cash is going to deliver, right? But they don't. Cash can mean a whole number of things that people don't even realize it. And so we have to be there. Our job as marketers is to bring up those benefits and remind them of what we're going to deliver. What the marketing is about, showing them the end result. Okay, so that is what marketing and sales is about. It's not just about the price and delivering the price. Then you become just a commodity at that end. But it's about bringing these feelings up. And so I'm going to get back to that problem solution example. But really, if you want to like dive into how people feel about having a bad real estate situation, is go to Reddit and just type in Google like failed listing Reddit, or any kind of situation, foreclosure Reddit, and then just read those. And so I pulled this is an actual Reddit story, and so I actually take Reddit stories because I can't often. It's not scalable for me as a vendor in this industry to go and try to get every story that an investor has about one of their sellers, right, and plug it in. Instead, what I do is I grab these stories regularly from Reddit or anywhere online. It's not just Reddit, but and I plug them into emails. And emails is a beautiful place where you can really elaborate, right? SMS, you can't. I can't bring this up in an SMS. I want to keep short and concise. But in email, I can dive deep into the story, and stories sell. So they sell because you're tapping into the emotion of things. So I'm going to read this one story right here from somebody, a real seller. He said, someone I know stayed in a hotel for a week as their house had 20 viewings per day. And when they got home, their towels in one of the bathrooms was covered in, and you know what? And that was a little brown emoji that I'm sure people know what that's going to be. So I couldn't do anything about it. Unable to determine which one of the viewers it could have been. People are animals. So if they can do that, imagine what else they could be doing. And another acquaintance recently sold their house and found footprints in their bed and chips and scratches in the drywall. So this is the emotion there. So imagine Yeah, a real motivated seller does not want to go through 20 viewings. Yeah, just that thought alone just cringes at them. If whatever situation they have, this is the emotion we're tapping into. So collect these stories. Find out. I've heard like going back to my Mount Rushmore. I've heard these guys, Dan Kennedy, talk about the owner of the company routinely going into their sales calls and listening to them, because tapping back into their market, knowing what people are going to, so you can deliver a better selling experience to them, right? So you can know the emotion that's behind why they're doing business with you. So jumping back into my slide, problem solution examples. So this is just some examples of how you can take, simple feature or a simple benefit and plug it into an SMS. So you can say more than just, hey, are you still interested in selling? So the second one here says, banks don't generally give out loans for vacant houses. If selling, go with the hassle-free cash buyer like us. There'll be no banks or agents in the way. Call us today. So really simple, clean, clear marketing message. It's still saying, if you're still selling, give us a call. But this is a vacant house. So I know so we have vacant house sequences. So if
Yeah,
I'm
read
plugging
the first one and the third one too.
Yeah, yeah. So first one says, let me finish my thought, right? So if I have a vacant house sequence, I plug that person in. I can. What the biggest issues with a vacant house is that a bank's generally not going to give it a loan for it. So I'm giving that solution, right? So the first one says, hey, Mr. Seller, this is John at we buy houses, letting you know that you need to clean up if that you don't need to clean up your house with our cash offer. Let me know when you want to see our offer. So today, just as a reminder, today I don't use cash a whole lot in our follow-up messages, just because of the whole SMS deliverability. And most people are going to understand. If you're at this point, they understand you're giving out a cash offer because you already spoke to them. But yeah, I'm keeping things concise. I'm bringing up one benefit or one feature. In this case, the benefit is they don't have to clean up their house, right? It's not like a mind-blowing idea. It's just that we tend to forget that these are the really simple things of why somebody might go with you rather than a traditional way of selling. So I'm bringing those up, reiterating those. Okay. The third one right there says, hey, Mr. Seller, it's John at We Buy Houses. I want to remind you that we're handling everything for you and paying for closing costs. Just text back if you'd like to lock in that price. So I'm not too sure what that would probably fall under. Probably follow on somebody who hasn't been given an offer yet. So again, call to action there. So I know, going back to that pipeline system, I know that if they haven't locked in the price, if they haven't given an offer yet, that's my next call to action. Text back so we can give you an offer. Right?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So that's kind of rushed through that, but that's the idea of figuring out what to say besides "Are you still interested?" It's really diving into one or two benefits, and that's something I do. Like there's some print shops you saw on that list of people I worked with. So one of them has a sequence of greeting letters. And those greeting letters, we can only fit maybe 56 words into these greeting letters. So what we do is, if it's a 7-card sequence, we don't just throw up onto the page with all these ways that what a cash offer is going to bring. We take 6 or 7 of the top reasons why somebody's going to sell today in this market. A motivated seller is going to sell in this market, and that would be our one message in that one postcard, right? So if it's 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, cash offer wasn't something that was really. It was more of a commodity 2 or 3 years ago, because everybody was giving out cash offers on the MLS. So if you say you're going to give a cash offer, nobody cared. So we shifted, and said one of the messages would say, no realtor, we'll buy your house with no realtor commission, right? That brought up response, because, hey, it's now the message is not about the cash offer. Now it's about here's a different way. Here's a little new unique way that you can sell your house. So what I'm getting at is the markets change. And you do want to tie in what is the strongest reason why somebody's going to sell to you. So today, with when interest rates dropped, when days on market were stretching out, that's probably what's the most concerning reason, a problem that people are having right now.
I love this concept of having a story bank. And this is something that I've been trying to do, my own personal business. When I come across a story with a seller, with a customer, with a buyer, just any kind of story that you can tell, because stories sell, right? And this is why we're doing this.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, before I dive into the next principle, which is omni-channel, because I think that's where we left off. I was going to dive into the next principle. Let's unravel this whole story thing, because
Yeah.
there's different ways to tell a story. So in text messaging, I wouldn't put this in, right? I think I might have talked about it. Text messages, I keep it concise, short, brief, but it's still a story you tell when you're texting somebody, right? So what I mean is you're telling the story of how you benefit, right? Every text message I send out might leverage a pain point, might leverage a benefit or feature. And so there's still a story being told, but like a actual story. Let me show you this actual a Reddit story right inside one of my emails. I pulled it up. So this is so in our business in OmniDrip, we actually have multiple variations of different messages, because that's a huge thing going forth. I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but when it comes to deliverability and being able, making sure your emails and your text messaging is getting through, going forth 2024 and beyond, carriers and ESPs, email service platforms like Gmail, they're looking for, or actually rather, they're not looking for the people who are using templates. So if they're getting multiple people sending the same like canned message, that's a red flag for them, and they
Yeah.
want to avoid that. So going forth, I'm making sure that there's different variations of things. It's not we're just plugging in a template that somebody else gets as
Mm.
well. So
Yeah.
on this one, let me break this down. So subject line: buyer uses house as a toilet during open house. So I'm taking that pain point of an open house, right? Somebody who's a motivated seller does not want to go through an open house, right? Because that is the traditional mode of selling, is going through an open house. And so subject line, I'm always there's a copy 101 concept. Comes from some old school guys that you saw on my Mount Rushmore slide. Eugene Schwartz, I think Joe Sugarman talked about this as well. Is that the point of a headline is just to get them to read the next line. The point of that line is to get them to read the next line, and so forth and so forth. So subject line, I just want them to get to open it. Here's something like here's a don't do. Don't trick people into opening a subject line.
Yeah.
That raises your spam rate. That gets people pissed off. Okay, so a good way to trick people is putting that re reply button. I don't know if people can't see this, but you've seen these subject lines, and a lot of people use them. Is where they use re to trick people into thinking this is an actual reply to a previous message. I don't use that in any of my marketing. I know that is what's used, but 10,000 foot view, the bigger scope of things, I'm trying to build a better relationship with people, not crumble a relationship. So not
Yeah.
crumble an existing relationship. So anyway, my point of this is to get it open, but in an honest way. So I start off in most of my emails with it's like a little reason why they're seeing this. Not I don't do this in every email. Investors, I do it because we're not emailing weekly. We're not emailing bi-weekly sometimes. This might come along 60 days out. And so they haven't gotten an email from us for a while, or from this investor, I should say. So I'm letting them know, hey, this is a complimentary newsletter from website here. And I put the website here because I want them, maybe it'll click and get another touch. I talked about multiple touches. Well, I'm trying to get another touch out of this. And if the investor has some advanced has a pixel set up, he or she can do some retargeting as well with that. So anyway, going on with the email says here, hey there, Mr. Seller, whenever you decided to sell, if you do, I want to alert you about the dangers of having buyers go through your house and how to prevent this little incident, and I put little in a quotation, from happening. After I went from being this should be from a new manufacturer worker, I know that sounds a little odd, but to jumping feet first into real estate, I learned that lots of viewings and showings are a good thing for getting a house sold. That bad part of it is lots of people, complete strangers, trample through your house. This little doozy of a story explains it all. I quote it straight from Reddit, and then I go in and I paste that story right into it, and I source it out to Reddit. And then I go on saying, to prevent this from happening, do the following steps. Put up exterior cameras, keep your viewings to a minimum. Don't put any viewings back to back. And so on and on, I go on with this email, giving them like actual, like, this is how you do it. Then here's another option. I say, you can just sell to us. It's just one appointment and you can consider house sold. No agent fees, no closing costs, no cleanup, no open houses, no repairs, etc. If you're interested in chatting about your cash offer again, give us a call. So with this one, I'm leveraging the pain that we talked about, that emotion. I'm talking about exactly what's going to go through a traditional sale. And then the other option is just selling with us. So, and avoid all that. So that's one of the emails we have. I mean, we have hundreds of emails that go into our bank and different variations of them. But that's the gist of putting a story into an email. So
I love that. That's good.
Yeah. So let me move on to the next principle here. That it's the very last principle to tying all this in. So we talked about having your word bank, having your story bank, always collecting. As if you're in the business as a marketer now, it's not just you're an investor. And so I heard this from Dan Kennedy. A lot of investors know who Dan Kennedy is, but he tries to make it a habit, or at least with his clients, make it a habit for them to regularly tune in to calls with leads, customers, and clients. Because as owners, we tend to be removed from that, and we forget their pain points, forget what they go through, and just be in tune with who you're dealing with. So that is collecting your word bank or your story bank. That's a good way to keep building it up and keep that updated. So going into this omni-channel concept, SMS, having a drip sequence that's just SMS in 2024 and on, it's just not going to work well. It's because now that we have to be more with SMS, you have to be more conscious about making sure that people are being opted in now, making sure that you're leaving instructions to opt out. More people are going to opt out. So you don't want to eliminate all communication from them by just having one automation, which is SMS. Instead, I want to come in from everywhere. I want to come in from multiple angles, because there are email readers, there are people who are social media folks, people who are text folks, people who are direct mail folks. I want to capture all those different people who respond in different ways, and it adds impact and adds credibility and trust. So here's an example of let me explain this. I've had a couple clients who don't want our emails. They say, well, they want to reduce the price, and they say, let's just do text message because we don't get a lot of responses from emails. I think that's a really narrow way of thinking. Because
it's a huge mistake. Yeah,
it's a huge mistake, because just because they don't respond doesn't mean that they don't see you, and they don't apply, they don't create some kind of emotion from seeing a different ad. Marketing is never isolated. It's not just one channel and that's it. There's a saying that that a rising tide lifts all boats, and if you can add more quality channels into your marketing, it just lifts everything. So here's an example of a client who closed the deal within a drip sequence. So, and what I'm getting at with this one, I'm circling it right here, that the seller texts back and said, hey Jessica, this is I'm sorry. He texted and said, hey, Jessica, this is Wes from Revive Real Estate. Got your email about setting up a call. I can call anytime. What works for you? So I don't have the right slide or the right screenshot here to scroll up and see the dashboard and seeing her replies. But she's been responding from email with the text. So meaning she's seeing the emails. The activity shows her seeing the emails, but then responding also with a text. So it's proof to me that she's actually seeing the emails. It just doesn't. Just because she doesn't respond doesn't mean it doesn't have an impact on the marketing. So here's my arsenal, I call it the arsenal of everything that we use in our system. We plug in direct mail, and direct mail, I'm going to show you one of my pieces that we use for follow-up. Tasks to call, of course, that's obvious. Tasks for personal Loom video. I think this is hugely undertapped. It's so easy to use, so easy to do. So if you're following up with a lead hasn't responded, um, and you get a task that says leave a personal Loom video. You're out on the go. This is the easiest way to do it. You're out on the go. You get this task to send a Loom video to Mr. Seller, and it's you. The Loom video app is so easy. You just click the button, record it, and it sends it off for you. I do this with my buyers and with OmniDrip. I used
So
to do it
wait,
with
from your phone.
yeah. So
I
you
used
can
to use a tool called, I have the Loom app on my phone. Can you see that? Maybe not. I can Loom myself right now. Hey, this is Joe. Hey, Mr. Seller, why haven't you sold your house yet? I click done, and boom, there you go. Right? I can click copy link, email, and message or more. And so it just, yeah, I used to use a tool called Bonjoro. Did you ever
yeah
hear of that tool?
yeah. I never
It's
used.
similar to BombBomb. And it's pretty cool because it has an app you can just record videos and send it to people. But I love this, and I've never thought about using Loom for sellers.
Yeah,
You can,
and buyers. I mean, so I was doing this. Um, But I mean, I don't think the app was available then, so I was doing it on desktop, right? So I wasn't doing it on the go on a mobile phone. But get a buyer. This is what I used to do with. But I'm trying to create impact. Okay, I like using that word impact because everyone's just plugging away with the same kind of system that everybody else uses. The same media. It's very mediocre. It just copy and paste what everybody else is doing. Rather, what I did with land, maybe people are doing it now, but if I get a land buyer, because that was important to me, because that can be another buyer of another lot that I had. I would send them a Loom video, and then I would also print out, get it sent to, I think it's Easy Canvas or something like that, Easy Prints or something like that. I get a picture of the lot they bought, get it in a canvas, and then sent their way, right? Just trying to create that impact. And so with this, creating that impact just goes, it's so easy to do. I think Loom costs like $20 a month. I mean, you might not even need that $20 a month subscription to do this. But so easy to add into your system, your way of doing things, to add just a little bit more impact into your marketing. So SMS, obviously, we're doing that. Website, I every once in a while I get some clients that don't have a website. I always tell them, just set up your website real quick, so that we can drive some traffic to it, right? At least this is a traffic source in a way. So let's drive some traffic to it. Create that extra touch. Articles, we plug that in. And reviews. If you've got reviews, you've got to use them. We plug them into our emails. So we'll plug the best reviews that they have. I wouldn't recommend making up video. Don't make up reviews. Don't use somebody else's. Just do your best into creating what's called a. I don't know if you've heard of him, but Ken McCarthy. He was Dan Kennedy's internet marketing guy, Joe, but he's talked about making your business into a testimonial acquisition business. So creating process to really start dripping in these reviews and testimonials, because you can use them all day long in your marketing. Okay. So this is one of my letters. I have about, this is a postcard. I have about 30 or 40 different direct mail pieces within all of this, my pipeline, as we talked about. And my goal of this mail piece, so to give some context of why this goes out when somebody has filled out a form and they just haven't, if somebody fills out a form, that's a seller that, usually those are a little bit more motivated than the others. So they fill out a form and they didn't take the next step, or they haven't responded to us. So this probably goes out like the 30th day after filling out the form. And it's basically my goal for this one, going back to that copy concept. First goal is to get them to read it. Second goal is to read the next line. I'm just trying to get them to see it and read it, right? Because then I can go into the copy of, hey, we talked, you just never took the next step, So
for the people listening on the podcast, it's a picture of a postcard of a dog, and it says, "What in the world happened?" And so go ahead and just read it real quick, so people can.
So it's a dog with a question mark, kind of with that, like you heard a strange noise, and it says, "What in the world happened?" Big headline at the top. Mr. John, did we mess up somewhere? You filled out our form at our website, www.webuyhouses, but you never took the next step, which was to get into contact with me to get your cash offer to buy your property. We're still buying houses in your area, and would love to send you no obligation offer to buy yours. It's no cost, no hassle. It's bank free. At least try our offer. All we need to do is collect a few more details. It just takes one appointment to get your offer. I know you already filled out the form, so I'm reiterating this. If they fill out the form, I want to make sure they understand this, that we've already spoke. I know you already filled out the form, but there are details that a form just can't give us to give you an accurate price. And then the opposite side is more of a call to action, shows the number and all that. So the next card, so I want to show you an example of a different angle of a direct mail piece. This is a greeting card. So context of this one is they told you, hey, we're going to just fix the house ourselves. Okay, you gave them the offer. They think, you know what, I'm just going to fix it. I'm probably getting more money for it. We all know that most of them aren't going to do that. So I want to add impact here. So I sent them a thank you card, a greeting card. It's actually a greeting card. They cost, like, it's the ones that fold, they're nice quality. They cost like $2 to send out. And it's actually just thanking them and at least for at least trying us and talking with us, right? Mm-hmm. So I love doing this because I can attribute my personal income today to doing follow-up mail, like following up with different clients, following up with people who are going to be freelance clients of mine. This has a lot more impact for myself, when people do it with me, and for the people I connect with. So I, as much as possible, implement the whole thank you greeting card into some of these sequences, because I just want to add that impact when they finally decide to sell. Okay, and I want to iterate direct mail into this, okay, because it's a under-tapped medium that costs so little to do. So just for an example, if anybody can't see this slide, it says up top, direct mail, too expensive with a question mark. And it's inexpensive because, so for example, if you get 100 leads per month, like that, you're paying for 100 new leads per month. And let's just say it costs you $300 per lead, just for a number's sake. So that's $30,000 that you're paying every single month for new leads. I know that might be a lot, but just for example's sake, pay-per-click and PPL can be expensive. So you're paying $30,000 for fresh new leads every single month. Now, if you plug in direct mail to some of those leads for following up, you're probably only going to send to that 30% of those leads. You'll probably send a mailer. And so if you send to 30%, so 30% of them are going to be tire kickers. 30% of these leads will be an appointment now. And the other 30 are going to be people who are on the fence who just really haven't responded yet. So if I mail those 30% and I spend about $2 for that 30, I'm spending $60 per month to follow up with these guys. That is such a small fee compared to your $30,000 acquisition cost. A lot of people talk about this, about how not just investors, but business owners in general, they spend a lot on lead generation, which is important. You have to. And think of money as time and your resources, not just dollars. You're spending a lot on acquiring that lead, but then you spend so little resources, money or time, into then following up. And if you think about, if you break it down with mail is so cheap to send compared to actually buying new leads, right? So nobody's can see, I mean, not nobody, but some people might not be able to see the slide. I hope that makes sense, Joe.
I was going to say this real quick. Direct mail follow-up is so important, and why more people don't do it, I have no idea. Because, maybe it does cost money, but you're wasting money. You're losing money by not doing follow-up with direct mail. And the reason why I like doing follow-up with direct mail is emails can get lost in spam. Text messages can get blocked. When you try calling, people are more likely to send the call to voicemail than actually answer the call because it comes from an unrecognized number, or your caller ID might show up as spam. But with direct mail, you look at the open rates of direct mail, 75, 85%. They may open it over the circular file, the trash can, but they're going to open it. And I see this happen over and over and over again. man, this is the fourth offer I've gotten from you, Joe. Or this is the fifth letter I got from this guy. He must really want my property. Nobody else is sending follow up like that. It happens all the time.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a lot cheaper than acquiring a brand new lead. I'm not saying don't stop your lead generation, but I am saying just add a few. It's pennies. It really is pennies. Look, I mean, I have it on circled right here. 0.2% of your acquisition cost, like that's
Mm-hmm.
$60. So it's pennies compared to, in relative terms, to acquiring a new lead. So yeah, send direct mail for follow up. Again, it's all encompassing. You're creating this universe, this branding universe where they see nothing but you. So, um, what it all looks like in the 10,000 foot view of what we set up for my system is 24 sequences, 40 different direct mail pieces, which you saw a couple of them, 163 tasks, and these tasks they have they come they I make sure that we have call scripts or voicemail scripts with it as well, because one thing I want to remove from these follow up is thinking too much or trying to figure out what to say. Now, there's thinking involved, right? I always tell my clients is make sure you take lots of notes with the clients, and then so if you're following up with them and you can see on the dashboard in their notes, you can see, hey, they have they have 4 kids, they homeschool, whatever it is, whatever information you can add into your follow up, please do. That's just going to add a lot more impact to your follow up, to your voicemail or your call. Instructions for Loom videos, hang up tactics, which I do, which is the kind of um, I use this much later down the road. If like a lead hasn't responded in like 6 months, I might do what I call a hang up tactic, where you call them. If they don't answer, you go to voicemail, and as you're leaving your voicemail, you're leaving a cliffhanger, like, hey, I need to tell you something about about your property, and then hang up. I don't like using those a lot. It's kind of a dirty trick, but if they've been in my system for 6, 8 months with no response, I'm going to try to pull everything I can, right? Um, Three-pronged task means that like every time I send a task that has to do with call, I don't just say call lead like that. I don't leave it for. I want to make sure that whoever's using this, whether it be your lead manager, acquisition manager, or you, the owner, I want to make sure that you understand exactly what to do. It's a system, right? So you don't. I want to remove feelings for everything, so that so you don't skip out on parts. So what I mean by three-pronged task here is the task, the notification is going to go out. It's going to tell you to call. If they don't call, here's the voicemail script or framework to work off of. And every voicemail script I have has that whole feature benefit. It has one or two feature benefit within the script, right? Reminding them. Here, let me pull an example here real quick, Joe. So
Yeah.
I'm not vague here. So this is an actual client document of mine. So whenever somebody works with us, we give them these Google Docs with hundreds of steps, and then we plug them into their CRM for them. So let me find a task and what that might look like. Here, this one's a better example, this probate one, because this one's new. This one is more recent. Okay. Here's that win back tactic. Okay. So it says here, it's a task that goes out on day 57. Says, hey, call lead with win back tactic, then text. Call if no answer. Leave a voice message, but hang up in the middle, saying, hey, Mr. Seller, I've got something important to tell you about your property and then you list off whatever the address is, and then hang up. Then you text them right afterwards. Hey, Mr. Seller, I tried calling, leaving a voicemail, but the call dropped. Can you call me back? It's regarding your property. Now, again, I don't like using these dirty tactics that often. Don't abuse this, right? Don't make it into a gimmick. But if so this one right here is probate, right? It's 57 days. Now, that might not seem like it's a whole lot, uh, but at this point in Oklahoma, they're coming up to a point where the average probate deal or probate process closes about 60, 70 days. So I'm trying to win them back before they actually go with somebody else. So that's the point of this tactic right here. So that's a three-pronged tactic. It's call lead. That's number one. That's the first touch. Number two, leave that voicemail. And number three, text them back. This isn't an auto message. I tell people I tell people don't leave this as I don't do this as an auto message, because I want you to time it. I want you right after you're done leaving that voicemail, you text them right after, and here's exactly what to text them. Right. So that's my whole strategy behind this. Now we're getting 3 touches out of this, right? Call notification, voicemail notification, and then a text notification. So yeah, that's an example of that task there.
That's good.
So going back to the slideshow here, we've got 150 different emails, 7 articles, reviews, and then 300 plus text messages. So going back to when that slide that talked about how people say drips don't work, and it has a lot to do with they don't have they're not thinking big enough with their drips. They're just thinking this little tiny bucket, maybe it has 5 different text messages that go out, or 7, because they've heard that's what it takes, is on average 7, and then that's it. Mine is loaded with different angles, all kinds of different messages, all kinds of different attempts. So that's the whole big picture of it. This one right here, I want to show you this one. This client text or sent me a Slack saying that it took over 50 touches over 1 year to land a 25K payday. That's what he said right here on the bottom. That's so again, awesome. reiterating how many touches it takes. To give some context in this one, he put the client, or the seller, I should say, he put the seller into the appointment missed trip, and it took 12 calls and voicemails, 13 text messages, and 6 months later he responded. So anyway, that's some context of how long it takes for these things. But I've got other people talking about why they work. So anyway, Joe, do you have any questions about all that?
Yeah, remember, guys, we gave you that link. I think I still have it here. joemccall.com/drip. joemccall.com/drip. And if you want more information from Paul, you can contact him at paul@reiomnidrip.com, or call him and text him at 951-901-8208 if you want some help from him doing all this follow-up stuff for you. But I got a question in terms of software that's out there. What are some tools you recommend to people if they're looking to buy a CRM, or if they already have one? Are there good tools out there? And it's okay to name drop or give your opinion on tools you like or don't like, but what are some of the tools that you like to use for this kind of automated follow-up?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely CRM is needed. I think it makes it just the job easier. I mean, you can go about trying to Frankenstein different things together, getting Klaviyo as your email mark and your SMS, or using Twilio and all that, and trying to Frankenstein things together. That works, but if you're not tech savvy, it's not going to work. Or just use the CRMs in the box. So Freedom Soft, we talked about that, Joe, works well. REI Black Book works well. We worked in REI Black Book as well. And Investor Fuse is one of my favorites. That's what I usually recommend to people if they just don't know where to start. But all of those, it's important. So here's what you're looking for. If drip sequences are important for you, automation is important for you. What you need to look out for with a CRM is that, one, obviously they send auto texts, but 2, that the frequencies are diverse, meaning like there is some CRMs that they're limited in how often you can send. So I've been in some that stop at 7 text messages and that's it. I've been in some that you can't send text messages. You can't send more than 1 step in 1 day. So only 1 step can go out every single day. That's problematic for me, because I'm going to show you my most aggressive sequence here. My most aggressive sequence. Internally, our team calls it Digistopper, but here's an example of it. So the format's kind of funny. This is our internal doc here, because I don't know why it shows this up here, but it has about 7 or 8 steps in 1 day. So this is for a seller who fills out a form, okay? And my intention is to get them from out of shopping around. That's hence why I call it Digistopper. I'm trying to stop them from shopping around and get them into our pipeline, into our next quote gate. If you remember that slide of building our pipeline, I'm trying to get them to the next gate, which is book an appointment. So I've got here the first part, because if people can see, it says Hey there, John. My name is lead manager with We Buy Houses. Where the local home buyers in Chino. You might have filled out the cash form from our online partners. They notify us that you're looking to sell, and there's a question mark. We're trying to get that response. Okay. If still no response, forget that questionnaire thing that you have there. If still no response, I might say this one. That's why the formatting's all wrong. SMS, sends an SMS that says, I'm making sure I'm talking to the right person. Are you still looking for a cash offer to sell your hose? Okay. I deliberately put a typo there because then 1 minute later, there's a correction that goes out. That goes out with, again, this formatting is all screwed up because this is our internal page, but it's going to be a correction text message with, the star and then house spelled, right? Because I'm trying to make this personal. Like we're actually thumbing this right then and there. Email goes out 1 minute later. Direct mail goes out 10 minutes later. Another text message. Also, if you haven't done so, you can book a cash offer appointment with us right here. And I plug in their calendar link. So this is another call to action. So, understand that, the call to action, you have multiple tools you can use, right? So you have the call to action of, hey, text us back, call us back. And then you also have, or go to a link, right? Go to check out our homepage, check out our about page, check out our reviews. Or you also have book a call with us right here, and then you have a calendar link. They can book it right then and there. So we implement this as much as possible, getting them. It's just a different way to respond if they're more comfortable just getting on your calendar. So anyway, this is an example of like how heavy this is, and I'm kind of scrolling through. Oh, there's that typo message. Okay, so it goes out on the second day. It immediately follows that typo that I put in there. So anyway, after it looks like 9 steps. In 9 steps, I'm sending out, or in the first day, I'm sending out 9 steps. So going back to the CRM, tying this back into the CRM, it's important to have a CRM that allows for multiple steps in one day, or else you're just limited to one. I'll have, for example, I'll have an email go out, a text message go out, and a task go out. All those three, kind of like a 3-prong type of attack, I guess you can say. Kind of cheesy, but I'm trying to catch them in 3 different ways they communicate. Right? They can communicate versus SMS, email, or just calling back. So anyway, so important to make sure your CRM does that. Make sure they have the good time delays. They allow for hundreds of messages. They allow for direct mail. Like if you want to use direct mail as a follow-up, as like a one-off mailing piece, it's important they have that plugged in as well. I believe FreedomSoft has that. It's called a webhook. So if you can paste in a webhook from your vendor, Print Genie. There's a few others, but I know the one I know of is Print Genie. Then you're in business. You can use follow-up for that. And tasks. Believe it or not, there's some CRMs that don't even have tasks. I don't know why they didn't think of adding tasks and notifications, but yeah, making sure it has that as well.
So what do you guys do then for a customer who says, man, I just want your help with this. I want you to implement this for me. What do you guys do?
When somebody orders, and if anybody's wondering about the price, just know that the price, once you get a deal, one deal pays for it two times over. And so they'll come in and they're going to fill out a form. That form is going to give us like our profile, because I'm not selling templates. We're not doing templates because that's going to hurt deliverability and it's just too generic. So instead, I want to know what the investor does as far as how he performs business. Meaning, is he a face-to-face guy? Does he do face-to-face appointments? Does he do virtual 100%? Is he local? Is he a mix of face-to-face phone? Is he a national? Does he buy with tenants in the house? Is he what's the average price in their area? Things like that. These minute little things that we can really leverage and turn into a more custom-based communication system for them. So once they fill that out, we put everything together. everything, all these sequences together. We go through, we review it, make sure everything's good, and then we plug it into their CRM for them. Once that's all done, we give them support afterwards. We update. We keep updating it for them whenever there is updates to be needed. We watch their deliverability of SMS and email. That's important because I think a lot of I mean, CRMs are doing the best they can to deliver good experience, but a lot of them don't understand the whole deliverability of things, and that's important. So, I mean, we can talk about that because it's February right now, and email has kind of dropped off, meaning Gmail has announced that they're only going to be sending emails where their domain is authenticated. So a lot of people don't know what that is. They're going to be running around because their emails aren't being delivered. Yeah, so we're watching deliverability as much as we can control, and that's what we do in a nutshell.
All right, good. So if people want more information, again, go to joemccall.com/drip, and that will get you to a page on how you can work with Paul. Paul, go ahead.
There'll be in that page. We're giving out a bunch of information. We're giving out that list of sequences there. We're giving out samples for you to work off of if you want to build your own. And we got a guide as well, a little one-pager guide to help you develop your own if you want to, or you can just book a call with me.
I love it. Thank you so much, Paul. Appreciate you guys for listening in. And again, go to joemccall.com/drip. I think I got the text image right there. There we go. joemccall.com/drip. We'll see you guys later. Thank you, Paul.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.